Hi there, so welcome back to the channel. My name is Abatan Sheriffdeen, and welcome back to Excel Island and the Excel Island live stream. So on this live stream, basically what I am doing is that I am live streaming my learning journey to upskill myself as a freelance data analyst using the resources on the Datacamp platform. And I kind of set a target of myself to live stream the learning journey and study consistently for the next 100 days. And so far, so good. Today is day 87, and I have been so consistent that I have actually completed, or not yet completed, I am close to completing the career track, the data analyst in SQL track on the Datacamp platform. So if I show you what that career track looks like, you can see data analyst in SQL track. I am on the last course in this career track. This career track actually contains 11 courses. I go to career tracks, and each courses contain 4 chapters. For an estimate of the whole career track is estimated for 39 hours of learning, 39 hours of learning, rather sha. And I am 98% through it. I can see 98%. So amazing. So after this career track, the goal is to start the data analyst in Power BI career track also, which contains 17 courses and projects. SQL is 11, Power BI is 17 courses. Probably I'll do another challenge of 100 days for the data analyst in Power BI career track also. Hopefully, I finish it before that 100 days because 17 courses is a whole lot. I'll give it a shot. Then after that, we move to the data analyst in Python also. There's also the Python career track also, which is 9 courses and projects. Well, then probably learning those 3 tools at least should be strong enough for the fundamentals of data analysis. There are so many learning you can do on the Datacamp platform. You can go ahead and subscribe. I'm actually subscribed to a 1-year subscription. You can also go ahead and subscribe and begin your data analyst learning journey. So if I open this data analyst in SQL career track, let me show you what it looks like. You can see there's 9 hours of learning, 11 courses, 1 project, and if I scroll down to the last, you can see I'm on the 11th and last course on day 87. That's amazing. Then after that, we are going to build some projects, then statement of accomplishments. I'll also be taking the data analyst certification also, just to prove that I'm actually strong in the data analyst and SQL skills. So if I go back to the progress dashboard, then we can I'll just continue learning from where I stop. Before I continue learning today, so the goal is to learn for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maximum of 1 hour on each live stream. So before I continue, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm a top rated plus freelancer on the Upwork platform. So I've had major success on the platform, and that is due to the influence of a coach, someone who had actually been guiding me through the freelancing space, the freelancing business, and his name is Benga Debi. And currently, he has a course called the Freelance Client Magnet course. So what this course does is that it teaches you how to also become a successful freelancer and actually run a successful freelancing business. So if you're interested in starting your own freelancing career pretty soon, or you want to start right now, I'll encourage you to go on Twitter and search for Doing Adebi. I'll leave a link to his Twitter page under the YouTube description. The course link, the freelance client magnet course link, the link to the course is also under the YouTube description. If you purchase the course, you have access to Benga Adebi on every weekend, where there will be a Zoom support session. You get to ask him questions directly from the course instructor, what you don't understand, what you need to understand about the freelancing business, and upscaling your freelancing career also. So make sure to check out the course in the YouTube description. So getting back to today's live stream, let's continue data communication concepts. I think I should finish this part of the course today. Oh, let's see. Okay, probably in the next live stream, because I'm on the last chapter in the last course in the career track. That's amazing, dude. Let's continue learning. Building presentation slides.
In the previous video, we've seen how planning is paramount before actually building slides. Now we should design the slides. There are some suggestions we can follow. Our slides should support the story we are conveying. When building the slides, we should keep in mind our audience attention capacities. It's better to have many slides with little content on each, making for a more dynamic presentation, rather than a few slides with lots of content. There's a good reason for counting slides. The idea is to prevent presenters from going over time. But we shouldn't worry about counting slides or how much time we spend on each. Instead, we should have one message per slide. It will keep things short and fluid. Our audience can only absorb a certain amount of information at once. Trying to cover too much simultaneously will increase the cognitive load, cloud our message, and cause our audience to miss some of the key points. Formatting can emphasize or, on the contrary, cloud the message that we want to convey. One formatting technique is color. Remember, everything you present should convey meaning, and everything else should be cut. So as far as colors are concerned, we use the least amount of colors needed to convey our message. Also, we should maintain a good contrast between our text and background to help readability. We also need to be attentive to potentially impaired auditors. People who have color vision deficiency can't distinguish between two different colors. So those people will struggle to understand the text or graph on the slide if you use green and red together, for example. Fonts also impact readability. The research is inconclusive about which typeface is easier to read between serif and sans serif. The rule of thumb would be sans serif is appropriate for text that will be read on a screen, and serif is appropriate for text that will be printed. The font choice is also contextual. Comic Sans MS gets a bad rep, but it's a great font if presenting to kids, not so much in a business setting. In the end, the slide content is there to support what we're saying. And usually, texts are hard to read not because of the font choice, but because they are long texts in a small size. So let's keep our text short and big instead. We can also use several fonts, change the spacing of letters and lines, as well as use bold, italic, and various font sizes. We should use as little of these to get our message across without distracting from it. Including too much text can have a negative impact. The audience tends to read the slide instead of listening. Instead, we should write the main points supporting our message. The slides are just a support. They are not built to be consumed without a presenter, and if they need to be, then a recording can do the trick, but we shouldn't dual-purpose our slides into written reports. Including a slide headline helps persuade the audience to pay attention at that particular moment of the presentation. The headline should highlight the main point of the slide, be concise and specific, and be visible thanks to a bigger font. Layering is a powerful tool which breaks a complex slide into smaller points. The idea is to have a cleaner, better structured slide, making it easier to focus on each part individually. Each point is presented and explained on its own before being displayed together to wrap up the message. This approach helps focus our audience's attention. When we find ourselves using too much text, we should think about replacing it with a graph. People usually understand visual information much better. Layering and highlighting also work pretty well. We can display each graph one by one and put them together to summarize the idea. Highlighting the graph or part of the graph can also help us direct our audience to what we're explaining. It also works for text to highlight an idea or a metric. If needed, headlines should also be used following the same guidelines that we saw for text slides. Finally, we should use only one or two full-size graphs per slide, preventing us from conveying more than one message per slide or from overcrowding them. In a nutshell, we want to deliver our message while keeping things as simple as possible and limiting the cognitive load of the audience as much as possible. Alright, let's practice.
Yep, let's practice. A color building. You have planned the presentation for your findings on software development sector salaries for San Francisco employees. Now it's time to build the slides. After putting your slide deck together, you ask your coworker to give you feedback. He makes comments on the different slides. You start reviewing the following graph slide. The average salary for software, the headline font is no, 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 no. One of the comments she wrote about the slide is not correct. Can you select which one it is? The headline looks stylish even though the spacing between the letters is small and the font adds originality to the slide. That is not correct too. The amount of graph displayed is adequate. The two full-size graphs can be properly seen, compared. It is a good idea using the red square to emphasize one of the graphs. Okay, it will make the audience focus on what graphs you are explaining. That's cool, sure. But the font is not good. Exactly, you're right. When choosing a font, you should consider their typesetting as well as the spacing of letters and lines. They all affect readability, and you should choose a font that is easy to read. With too much text. Your coworker also gives you feedback on slides that only have text. It feels like the slide can be improved a lot. She gives you some options on how you can improve the slide. The average salary for software sector has increased in the last years. So one of the following statements is not correct. Can you select which one is it? Instead of writing all the text in graphs, convert each concise main idea to bullet points. That's good. The headline is well formatted using big letters. Also, it is specific and concise. To highlight keywords in the text using red, green, yellow, blue, and magenta. What? That's too much. Using several colors will help catch the audience attention. It would be a good idea to break the slide into two slides. That's good. The third one should be wrong. Exactly. So the right building. So well done building a text slide. Now you need to review the rest of the comments for each from your coworker. He left you the feedback in two stacks of notes. One stack for best practices and one stack for what you should avoid. However, the stack fell during your lunch break and are all mixed up. Can you classify which of the following comments are best practice in building a presentation and which one should be avoided? Okay. In this paragraph, the keywords salary, market, and retention are in bold. In this paragraph, the keywords salary, market, and retention are in bold. That's best practice. Include one slide to display that the company is behind market salaries and also that 40% of the software companies are located in San Francisco. Can you see slide there? Most of the slides have a light blue background. The words appear in gray font. You have read that. You were given 20 minutes to talk. You were given 20 minutes to talk. The presentation has 15 slides. You could just talk about each slide in 1 minute, and so include two slides that show the software market has been growing in the last years to support your message that the salaries are increasing. I think that's good. Cool. Those are easy theoretical concepts. We're almost through with the slides. Delivering the presentation.
Good job building engaging and effective presentations. We now understand that we need to plan the presentation before building slides, and those slides should be built to support the story we want to convey. Now it's time to discuss delivery. One of the most important things is to practice. Writing a script is helpful, but the idea isn't to memorize it by heart. Instead, it's to use it as a guide to efficiently articulate the reasonings and insights. The more we practice, the more familiar we will become with our content. Moreover, we should anticipate follow-up questions and think about appropriate answers to them. Practicing means rehearsing as close to the presentation context as possible, which involves standing up, using the actual slides, and speaking out loud. As we practice, we can identify distracting patterns or filler words such as so, or like. Additionally, sometimes things simply don't sound as good spoken as they looked when written. It is also an opportunity to find linking statements or sentences to transition from one slide to the other. Last but not least, we should also practice how to answer to follow up questions we have anticipated. Practicing our presentation many times is an effective way to be familiar with our content, but there are a couple of things we should consider while delivering the presentation. The first thing is being aware of our emotions. The audience will pick up on them. If we are self assured, they are going to be confident in our content. If we look nervous or confused, they might be unconvinced. How long the audience's attention span lasts varies depending on the setting, but researchers agree it's between 5 and 20 minutes. So we should go the extra mile to keep the audience engaged. Using eye contact, interactivity, questions, the idea is simply to talk to them, not at them. We are building a relationship with our audience. Let's show empathy, act as a guide. We shouldn't use sentences like as we know or obviously. We might damage our connection with the audience if they feel like they don't understand something, plain stupid, or if they are uncomfortable asking questions. We should make sure our presentation doesn't last longer than the allocated time. The audience will get impatient if we take longer than expected, and their attention will drop dramatically. They will understand us better if we make pauses. If we want to convey urgency, it's okay to talk a little faster. But after conveying the idea, we should breathe and give the audience time to think. Finally, we should always open up for questions either during or at the end of the presentation. It will show that we are open to feedback, interested in what our audience has to say, and willing to help them understand our message. So in general, we should always remember to talk to the audience and not at it, that less is more, that the take-home message should be consistent and persistent, to practice, and to prepare for follow-up questions. Let's make sure you can deliver an effective and clear presentation.
Of course, I should be able to deliver an effective and clear presentation. To put it into practice, excellent job creating those slides for the project on software development sector salaries for San Francisco employees. So now that you have your slide deck ready, it's time to deliver your presentation. Your project manager sends you an email. He asks you if you can have the meeting at the end of the afternoon. You are unsure because you need to practice. So you ask for some time for rehearsal. To convince your manager, you make a list of the advantages of practicing and rehearsing a presentation. So can you decide which examples you wrote are correct and which ones are incorrect? So it is important that you rehearse many times. So when you give the presentation, you are confident with the content. So to become familiar with your content, you should write a script and repeat it many times, word by word, while rehearsing. That's false. Rehearsing several times help you discover whether you have used expressions such as actually, like, kind of. So if you realize you figure that out. So it is a good idea to prepare answers to anticipate the CEO and the board of directors questions and to practice responding to them out loud. So you should rehearse your presentation standing up and projecting the slides and use this rehearsal to figure out what to say in each slide. Because each slide conveys a single message, there is no need to verbally transition from one slide to the other. Let's see. Oh, I've missed some. You should rehearse your presentation standing up and projecting the slide and use this rehearsal to figure out what to say in each slide. Oh, that's false. If I say you should rehearse your presentation standing up and projecting the slides and use the rehearsal to figure out what to say in each slide. That may be false. I can use the rehearsal to figure out to say. So I can use it to figure out what to say in this slide. That should be true though. So great job, practice. Practice, and more practice. One of the fundamental steps to give a good oral presentation. Definitely. You just have to practice and keep practicing. No shortcuts. So what about the best practice? So your rehearsal went very well. You are ready to present to the stakeholders. However, you feel nervous. You know this is completely normal, but you don't want to look like you are unsure of your content. You take 3 big breaths and remember your training. There are several there are some key points that will help you deliver the presentation effectively. So can you identify which of these statements are suitable points to consider and which ones are not? So give your presentation with enthusiasm. The audience picks up on your feelings. If you are confident, they will be convinced by your content. If your audience is engaged with your presentation, you can explain your content in detail, even if it takes longer than expected. That's true. You should emphasize well-known concept by saying, as you all know, this algorithm has good accuracy for forecasting problems. Also, that's true. If you realize you are too nervous, you should avoid making eye contact with the audience. They will be unconvinced for your content. Ooh, that's false though. Your central message should be repeated and linked to your findings throughout your slide deck. Message something. It's a good idea to pause for a few seconds after you review the main finding so your audience has time to process what you have just explained. Ooh, I've packed everything here. I know some of them will be missing. I know these two will definitely be missing. We should emphasize well-known as concept, saying as you all know. As you all know, is that how to emphasize well-known concepts? If your audience is engaged with your presentation, you can explain the content in detail, even if it takes longer than expected. So you have to make sure you are timed. So this is false. Timing is very, very important. You have to make we have to make eye contact. You have to make eye contact. Eye contact. You have to make eye contact. Very important. We should also emphasize well-known concepts. That is false, as you all know. That's good. Give your presentation with enthusiasm. It is good idea to pause for a few seconds, just like I'm talking now. I feel I'm talking too fast though. I try to avoid that. Your central message should be repeated and linked to your findings throughout your slide deck. That's interesting to know. Oh, since we are about to finish the last part of this course, let's end it today. Let's see. We're just like 23 minutes into the live stream. Just what's
We
up
have
for us?
just learned a set of best practices to deliver impactful presentations. In this video, we'll talk about common mistakes we should avoid. But first, let's recap. In order to deliver a compelling presentation, we first need to plan what we are going to present, following some guidelines. An important step is to prepare and practice our speech. The more we practice, the better we become. And lastly, we can deliver the presentation, provided we avoid some common mistakes. A lot of presentations are ineffective because they are too long. The audience has an attention span that we should take into account, and if we go beyond 20 minutes, we are at risk of losing them. Moreover, it is important to keep some time for questions the audience may have. People that are interested in our project surely will have some. A common mistake is to forget to state the purpose of the presentation in the introduction. This simple mistake could ruin the rest of the presentation, preventing the audience from understanding the importance of our findings and leaving them in the dark throughout the presentation, diminishing the impact of our story. As speakers, we should guide the audience, deliver a sequence of information that supports our story, and keep our audience's attention. And to that aim, we should not wait until the end of the presentation to show all of the findings together. Instead, we should include them throughout the presentation, providing a backbone to the message. Another common mistake is to just give the presentation as a monologue, without engaging and involving the audience.
Since my network is back,
We can keep the audience engaged by always relating what we are showing to the main idea. In that way, they can keep track of our story easily. If what matters is the message, the speaker is at the center of the presentation. We can leverage that and create emphasis using natural gestures and movements, for example, moving our hands or pointing at the slide, smiling, making a facial expression. Good body language conveys confidence and strengthens attention, so the audience will be more focused on our message. This is especially true for live presentations, a little less for online presentations. Our voice is also a tool to use to our advantage. We can use different voice tonalities to emphasize our message. For example, varying the speed of our voice prevents us from being too monotonous. We can speak fast to denote a sense of urgency, excitement, or emotion, or instead slow down to highlight the importance of a finding, introduce new ideas, or hammer fundamental ones. We should also speak loud enough so that if we're giving an in-person presentation. In case of online presentations, we should check that our microphone is properly set so that our voice is clear. Intonation also matters. It's difficult to give blanket advice, as it depends on the language, but basically we need to sound engaged. If we don't appear interested by what we present, we can't expect the audience to be. Alright, let's put these concepts into practice.
okay, let's finish the last part of this course. So the two mistake. Your coworker asks you to help him practice for his presentation. He wants your feedback so he can be prepared to deliver an important project to the company's CEO. He gives you a list of best practices you should observe during a speech, but you notice that some of them are not correct. Can you identify which statements are wrong? Okay, let's give it a shot. A minute, please. Okay, trying to check if we are still on. Why is it taking time? I'm trying to make sure we are still live, but it's taking a whole lot of time to come up.